back. I will not be streaming later today because I am officially on day off, but I do want to get this speedrun guide for Guy out of the way so we can get all three of them done and then start covering speedrun guides for all 6 rounds for Final Fight Arcade. So anyway, I'm RotorStorm331. Good morning to everyone that's here in the United States East Side and whatever day it is worldwide and elsewhere. So we're going to be covering the last of the 3 characters, Guy, and he's pretty much going to be the one we're going to be covering a little bit more. Well, I shouldn't say that, but technically it's going to be the last one we need, last character we're covering, and we're going to be getting that out of the way. Starting right now, of course, we do have some 1-minute ads coming in within 5 minutes from now, so please continue to stick around to watch the guide, and we'll go from there. So anyway, guys, the last of the 3 playable characters in Final Fight. Unlike Hagar and Cody, he has pretty much the least amount at stake for the events of the game's story, but being a member of the Bushinyu ninja clan of sorts, he is dedicated to fighting evil, so he won't tolerate the Magier's actions for the most part, and he will help Cody and Hagar deal with the Magyar for the most part. He, according to the demo, he considers Jessica his friend, so that's also another reason why he gets involved. Plus, he and Cody are training partners for the most part as well. Of course, Guy will be the first of the Final Fight characters, along with Sodom, to make their appearance in Street Fighter Alpha several years after this game was released. So, Guy is pretty much the fastest of the 3, but at the same time, he's pretty much also the least strongest. Of course, that's to be expected from ninja characters because they're basically more on the agility and less on the strength. But anyway, he's actually probably one of the more useful characters in some ways, but at the same time, he's also not the best combatant of the trio. But he's pretty easy to pick up. Has the largest amount of hits in a chain attack. He has excellent speed on his back jumps, and can quickly get around pretty quickly. And that's what you expect to see from a ninja. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and start covering his move list. So we're going to cover his chain attacks first. Guy has the largest amount of chain hits for his chain, landing up to 5 hits. Not to mention his standard punch hits pretty decently far. Doesn't have to be near close to most enemies, as you see right here. This is probably the second longest attack outside of Hagar's body blows. And basically, let's get a chain attack going. So basically, he'll do 2 backhand fists, body thrust, then an elbow, and then a roundhouse kick to finish the moves. Pretty stylish in general. It doesn't do the highest amount of damage because of Guy's low strength. But like Cody, you can basically do the infinite with him, and you could easily do that after the 3rd hit of his attack. Of course, whenever you do the infinite, you gotta do it in a rhythm, do it as somewhat of a rhythm. But overall, you definitely want to use Guy for the infinites, because that's going to be his primary way of damaging enemies pretty quickly. I do find him to be one of the more harder characters to actually 1cc in general, but I just get pretty bad luck whenever I play as him. But overall, his chain attack has probably the highest amount of hits, but at the same time, with the lowest amount of damage. So anyway, that covers the chain attack. We're going to go over his jump attacks. So, like Cody, Guy has 3 jump attacks. This is his stationary jump kick. Doesn't deal the highest amount of damage, but it's good to stop charge attacks as well as any aerial acrobatic attacks that the Hollywoods and Elgatos do. So, doesn't deal the whole large amount of damage, but it does deal, it's probably a guy's best way of protecting himself. Now we're covering his forward jump attack, which has pretty good range, as you can see right here. Plus it deals a little bit more higher damage than your stationary jump kick. So as you can see right here, does a little bit better damage. But still not high enough in comparison with the chain attack damage. So the next one we're going to cover is his down attack button while you're in the air. This allows a guy to do an elbow drop, and you could combo that from you could do this into a jump kick for a fake out, or do this and chain that as you get close to enemies, because sometimes enemies will usually get too close to you for your jump kick to hit. Doesn't deal a whole lot of damage, but it does allow Guy to stun enemies for the most part. So basically with Cody, you can do the same thing with him, like do this. I failed to get the full hits, but technically what you're supposed to do is do like the elbow drop, 4 hits of Guy's chain, then go directly into a grab, do two knee thrusts and then a throw. So that gives Guy the ability to basically do very high amount of damage despite his poor damage output. So yeah, even before Street Fighter 2, there were combos already in here, unless you want to consider them, call them combos. But technically, the elbow drop you want to use as your main stun tool. And that's pretty good if you're going up against Axels who love to block. So let's say if you do the elbow drop on him, you could get in there for grabs, hits, and the whatnot. Well, I failed to get the elbow drop, but technically the general gist of it is basically you want to use that to stun your opponents if you're too close to them, for the most part. So, now that we've covered pretty much all of his aerial attacks, let's go over his grabs and throws. So Guy pretty much is almost identical to Cody in terms of what he does for grabs. So this is his knee thrust. This pretty much is his best high damage dealing move for the most part. As you can see right there, that gives him the most highest amount of damage. And you can definitely cancel the knee strikes into a throw. And you basically want to use that to deal your more higher damage in general. So the next throw we're going to cover is his shoulder throw. Unlike Cody, Guy throws his opponents more faster than Cody does. And basically you want to use that to throw enemies. Pretty good if any of the opponents are trying to get right behind you to launch attacks, like you see right there, because we're dealing with tons of enemies in this game, so we want to have some form of protection against our adversaries. The problem is that because since Guy throws opponents more faster, the enemies he might be facing up front will probably start attacking him the moment he gets done throwing the opponents. So when that happens, you want to use your extra joy right off the gate. It's probably best to assign that to one of your other buttons to get it out pretty much more quickly. Because it's pretty easy to get hit stunned in Final Fight in general. But anyway, that covers Guy's throws and grabs. So let's go over his extra joy. So like all the other characters, every time you successfully hit enemies with the extra joy, which is the spin kick right here, you will lose 10% of your health for each activation. So when it successfully hits enemies, you'll be able to hit them for some pretty good damage overall, but you do lose 10% of your health each time you successfully hit your opponents with this. But it's Guy's best defense against any enemies coming at him from both sides. Has somewhat of a near 360 range, but it pretty much covers anything from forward, back, and probably a 45-degree angle as well. I could be wrong, but then again, what do I know? But yeah, it's pretty easy to spam the spin kick whenever you want, overall. According to lore, Guy did fight Ryu prior to the Alpha series, and it's according to lore, I believe, he taught himself how to perform that spin kick after his fight with Ryu when he used the Tatsubuki kick spin kick move that he used on him. So this is basically Guy's own variation of that move. But then again, or at least that's what I learned from reading on certain lores, but I could be wrong. But yeah, regardless, Cody does have more range with his extra joy as opposed to Guy's. But still, it does have very good defense priority, so you definitely want to make full use of that when you're getting surrounded by enemies and you need some breathing room. Actually, the final thing I need to describe about Guy is that, unlike the other characters, Guy has a very unique technique called off-the-wall jump attack. So basically when you're doing this, you want to jump towards the wall, then do forward jump, and then you do this. So basically when Guy does this, he basically jumps off the wall. You can also perform his aerial attacks from there. Now you can actually cancel the off-the-wall jump if you're still holding forward, but technically you want to be hitting the opposite direction and then throw your attack. This is very good if you're going up against opponents that enjoy. You don't usually see a whole lot of walls in Final Fight, but believe it or not, you can actually use the breakable objects as walls. So yeah, you see right here, I use that subway post to do an off-the-wall jump. So this allows Guy not only to move on the offense, but he can also use that to get out of the corner pretty much as well. Now, this move can also be used on breakable objects as well. Let me go back to the beginning of the stage and I can show you that right now. First off, we need a breakable object to use, so we'll advance further at the starting stage. Let's get rid of all these enemies first because we don't need all of them out for this demonstration. So normally you would think you would need walls. Believe it or not, you don't. Now, if I can get this J out of the way, I can do the demonstration. So as you can see right here, I used this telephone booth, and I was able to perform an off-the-wall jump. Now, unlike your normal jump kick, where you do least amount of damage, you basically get more damage with this attack in general. So in other words, if you have breakable objects in the background, you can also use that to jump off there and land your attacks. It's a good way to catch your opponents off guard, and it allows you to basically get some more damage out of that too. You can also use the elbow drop too from there as well, as opposed to the jump kick. Hang on one second. Alright, sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, you probably won't use this move a whole lot in a speedrun, but it's definitely there. And as long as you master this, along with doing it off of breakable objects, this actually makes a very surprising tool to use in case you are facing off a whole lot of enemies. You got breakable object, you can just jump towards that, then do the off the wall jump and basically hit your opponents. Now, one thing you gotta keep in mind is that you do not want to be holding the direction towards the wall, because otherwise you'll just basically just like cancel it right then and there. Yeah, I'm trying to jump off the barrel, but I did that with the trash cans earlier. It is possible to do it with those, but it's very hard. As you can tell, you're more better off doing it off of telephone booths, crates, or probably even barrels. But it is possible to do it. So anyway, that pretty much covers just about all of Guy's moves. The off the wall jump attack probably won't get used a whole lot, but it's there. Just don't forget about that, and you can basically use that to turn the tides when your enemies least expect it. So basically, what you want to do with the elbow drops, basically set up for for a mini combo, pretty much. Wow, only one enemy. Usually, you get the Doug and Jake out as well. But overall, you just gotta watch it with Guy's defenses, because even though he does get some invincibility frames when doing the chain throw, he does become more vulnerable after the throw animation's done. So you do need to be ready to throw out the extra joy when that time comes, because if you're still dealing with other enemies when you're doing the chain throw, you are going to be exposed. This also applies to both Hagar and Cody. Hagar gets more invincibility frames, so he doesn't really need to use his extra joy a whole lot as much as Cody and Guy do. But with Guy, you gotta be ready on the defense whenever possible. So anyway, that concludes my guide for Guy. I will have this highlighted and then later exported to YouTube, and then put the guide up for display on speedruns.com on the Final Fight Guides board. So anyway, now that we got all three of the characters done, I will find some time to do guides for each of the rounds. Of course, we'll be covering each one individually. And I will be using auto fire for those, because I had to turn that off for the tutorials. But for here, I'm going to probably use auto fire for those. But technically, you don't have to apply auto fire for those unless you're going for the turbo carry category on speedruns.com. But overall, we're going to be covering the rounds next. So we're going to be the first one we'll cover is round 1, slums. Then after that, it's round 2, subway park. Round 3 will be west side. Round 4, of course, will be the industrial area. Round 5, of course, will be the Bay Area. And then finally, round 6, uptown itself. And of course, each one gets more difficult than the rest. So anyway, pretty much the speedruns for each of the stages is going to be pretty simple, but it's also very important to know what happens when you do get hit stopped and just how difficult it is just to advance. But we'll discuss more about that when we get to the actual guides for each of the rounds. We'll cover the bosses, what you should expect, and things you need to know. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today. I will see you all tomorrow for Xenoblade Chronicles X. We'll be continuing Chapter 13. Get Al ready and get the rest of our party members ready for the rest of Chapter 13, so we can close off Mira and see the true ending of Xenoblade Chronicles X eventually. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today. I'm Rotor Storm 331 signing off. Have a great day. Take care. And I will see you all next time.